Aloha. Welcome to Connect the Dots with Jeni, where we investigate crime, corruption, and conspiracies in Hawaii. I live on Maui. The reason why I started this podcast is because I read the lawsuit that names Maui's Police Chief John Pelletier in the Diddy lawsuit. I'd been following the Diddy case ever since it came out, and I had been watching all the evidence, and as it was unfolding, the mounting evidence that was coming up against him. And so that inspired me to really look into this lawsuit. So I read it, all 87 pages. It is absolutely disgusting. This brutal crime that happened to Ashley Parham was very traumatic to read. I could only imagine what it would have been to actually experience and go through that trauma. And so immediately after that lawsuit was named, which was on March 7th, actually not immediately after, it was March 10th, Mayor Bisson, the mayor of Maui, went ahead and submitted a letter to the Maui Police Commission asking that he be placed on administrative leave. Now, the Maui Police Commission is basically a board of people, and they are the Maui Police Chief's oversight. So they hire, fire, evaluate the police chief. They are essentially his boss. Now, through my investigation of looking into, okay, there's going to be this administrative meeting between the Maui Police Chief to see if they should open up an investigation into John Pelletier. That's what Mayor Bisson asked for. He asked that the commission put him on leave while they did a investigation into the validity of this civil lawsuit. And he cites in there that, yes, this is just a civil lawsuit. It is not a criminal lawsuit. However, given the media national attention surrounding Diddy's lawsuits, and not just that, but for the crimes that he's being accused of committing, which is RICO, racketeering, organized crime, that he had an enterprise and that he was the head of it, sex trafficking. Due to the nature of these allegations, that's why Mayor Bisson felt it was important for due diligence and for public trust to go ahead and place Pelletier on leave. So to my amazement, I was very surprised that when that meeting came, which was on March 19th, that the Maui Police Commission unanimously voted to keep him in. That boggled my mind. And so through that, I started to research more into the Maui Police Commission, because to me, they're his boss. And so they're actually the ones who needs to be held accountable for John Pelletier. So I began researching into them, and I began researching into John Pelletier. And that is why we are here now. I created Connect the Dots with Jeni because I'm interested in all crime, and corruption. However, I felt that this was very important, that people needed to hear about this lawsuit, because I knew that most people in Hawaii was only going to hear whatever the news told them to. And as we know, whatever news you listen to, it's going to be filtered. The narrative you're going to hear is going to be through the owners of the station, regardless of whether or not it's factual. They have narratives, right, to push. And so my job was, I wanted to read the truth. So I got the Ashley Parham lawsuit, I printed it up, and I began to read them online on my Instagram, on my personal page, and it generated a voluminous feedback from the community. I had eyes watching it in anticipation. I read it verbatim on my stories, and so many people watched these stories, and they commented, and they were inquiring about it. And I knew that nobody was really going to do that. That but not a lot of people were going to read the actual lawsuit itself. And I just felt it was really important to do that. So that's where Connect the Dots with Jeni starts. Now, kind of through my investigations, what I've decided is I kind of want to go to the beginning of when John Pelletier came here. Because through my investigations, I found that there was collusion and there was corruption in the means that he came here. So that's actually where I would like to start. So for this first podcast, I want to discuss How did John Pelletier get here? There's a lot of information out there on John Pelletier and as far as the hostile work environment that he has created here in the Maui Police Department. An exodus of high commanding officers who were essentially forced into retirement. Otherwise, they would be filleted, that's his term, Pelletier, if they didn't comply 100%. He said it was a lawful order that everybody fall in line to him under his administration. So I want to start from the very beginning, which is how he came into office. And the way he came into office was collusion. Mark Redeker, owner of Maui Ammo and Gun Supply, had a secret meeting with John Pelletier in Las Vegas prior to the selection process. He fed Pelletier the questions and the answers that he was going to need to answer. Shortly, so he does this, okay? I have a complaint with the Board of Ethics. Oh, I don't think you can see that, but it's a Board of Ethics complaint number 21-09. Let's see. The date of this was 11/30, 2021, and the Board of Ethics sent a confirmation email back to this person on December 1st, 2021. We do not know who this person is. They are anonymous. They only used the email address titled malamapono maui at protonmail.com. I have heard or researched that Proton Mail is a, what do you call that? Almost encrypted. It's an encrypted email. So that's why law enforcement will use it. Okay. So in this, it says, to Maui County Board of Ethics, it cites the Maui County Code of Ethics, in quotation, elected and appointed officers and employees shall demonstrate by their example the highest standards of ethical conduct to the end that the public may justifiably have trust and confidence in the integrity of government. Mark Redeker, Maui Police Commissioner, possibly violated the Maui County Charter Article 10 Code of Ethics provision regarding the disclosure of confidential information. Now remember, the disclosure is that he went and had this secret meeting in Las Vegas and disclosed the questions and also the answers that the Maui Police Commissioners would like to hear. Specifically disclosing questions for Chief of Police candidates to John Pelletier during a secret meeting in Vegas, which allowed Pelletier an unfair advantage and as a result influenced the unanimous vote for Pelletier as Chief of Police. This, oh, it's highlighted, I'm into a quotation. This may also be a violation of Hawaii's sunshine laws. Commissioner Redeker volunteered to be part of the 4-person selection committee, also called the Temporary Investigative Group, which not only selected the final candidates for Chief of Police, but also formulated the questions to be asked for selection. So right there, that is a conflict of interest. That is unethical. He is specifically on the team that designed the questions and was specifically tasked with going and finding a candidate, John Pelletier. Let's move forward. So there's 4 other officers from Maui. Now remember, John Pelletier comes from Vegas. Okay, he was at the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Right here it says, it should also be noted that Commissioner Redeker has served on the commission in the past and that he has an adversarial relationship with all 3 current MPD candidates, Ramos, Jakubczak, I don't know if it's Jacobczak or Jakubczak, sorry, I'm not pronouncing it right, and Ferreira, including the former Chief Tivoli Faumu. Commissioner Redeker was the only one who voted to terminate Chief Faumu after he retired. The vote was 8-1. So basically what they're stating is that there was 3 other candidates who did apply who lived here on Maui to be the Maui Police Chief. Now what ended up happening is Redeker went up there, served him everything on a plate, silver platter, and he writes these 28-page handwritten, 28 pages, a handwritten written questions for the chief of police candidates. He blew all the other guys out of the water. And he blew them out of the water because he was privy to sensitive information that he shouldn't have had. That was a violation of the Maui County Code of Ethics. Charter Article 10, I believe is what that said. So already, Mark Redeker was unethical in getting him in. Now, we're coming down to the interview process. So he comes and he interviews alongside with the other candidates, right? Now, here's an interesting thing. In order to be appointed a chief, the Maui County requirements is that you must live in Hawaii for a year, immediately preceding the appointment. John Pelletier did not live here for a year. There's an interview, that's all across the internet, where he says it was 2 months and 2 days since he found out, and he had to pack up, move his family here. And so he didn't live here for a year prior. Now, the question is why? Why didn't he live here for a year? We're going to go into that they waived that requirement. Why is that requirement important to have in the first place? Well, it's important to have because there is what was it? It showed, oh shucks, my notes. It says there, blah. Sorry guys. Yeah. The Maui rule requires the residency for 1 year immediately preceding the appointment, which is a durational requirement and is not just a pre-application status. This may or may not have been directly addressed in Walsh. Okay, I'm going to get back to that. So essentially, it's useful in the law enforcement field. Okay, so when they were going to waive the fact that he didn't live here for the year, there's a woman by the name of Kisa Liu. She likes to show up to all these Maui County Council meetings. She likes to show up to every police commission meeting and voice her opinion. She worked for Gabe Johnson for a short time. However, I was told she was difficult to work with, and so she was let go. She is known to commonly attend these county council meetings and to voice her opinion. She is a self-proclaimed activist, community organizer. She joins and starts a bunch of different organizations. And so she went to this meeting and she commented on why she believes the Maui Police Commission should waive the requirement that he lives here for a year. Now, I was also informed by inside sources that the Maui Police Commission was strictly just looking for any reason that they could waive that. They didn't have this meeting to fairly and justly find out if they should or should not waive it. They held this meeting to hear exactly what Kisa Liu said so that they could be like, oh yeah, that's right. So let's read what she said. Mahalo everyone. Aloha, my name is Kisa Liu. I'm here to testify on agenda item 4B, 5B, 5A, and C, and item 6 in that order. I will start with 4B. I am in full support of approving John Pelletier as our next police chief. Now, remember, we have to wonder why. He's not even appointed yet. But as you'll see as we continue on this journey, you guys are going to follow me on this journey with John Pelletier. There's these people that are kind of handpicked before he even gets here. So that means that there was communication. That means there was things that he was already setting up, co-conspiring with people here, making promises with them here before he even came. And the residents here, were showing up to these police commission meetings. It is clear he is eager to start making the changes that the community and the officers have been asking for, and I am ready to start holding him accountable. So she is exerting herself as the authority figure who holds people accountable, self-proclaimed. I know there's been talk about the residency requirement. I am also in full support of that being waived. We have already had a Hawaii Supreme Court case, Walsh versus the City of Honolulu, that found such requirements unconstitutional. And quoting from that case, Plaintiffs argue that the pre-employment residency requirement is unconstitutional because it has an impermissible purpose of deterring migration into the state. Plaintiffs further argued that the law violates equal protection, the Equal Protection Clause, because it violates the fundamental right to travel by imposing a de facto durational requirement, and because it treats former residents different from non-residents. Finally, the plaintiffs argued that the residency requirement violates the Privileges and Immunities Clause of Article 6, since it discriminates against non-residents seeking to practice their trade. So clearly, enforcing the requirement would only prolong the acceptance of our new chief, probably cost the county an unnecessary lawsuit, and not benefit the county or its citizens. So the right thing to do is to waive it. So I'm asking for you to do that as well. So she cited the Walsh versus Honolulu case. Here's the thing, is that she was very selective in the context in which she shared the Walsh versus City of Honolulu. That Walsh case was specifically for people applying for work in general. And the Hawaii State Supreme Court sided with Walsh, saying yes, it is unconstitutional. The difference between the police chief is that the police chief is a leadership position, which is a critical role in public trust and might warrant stricter standards. Liu's selective quotes from the decision, but doesn't provide the contextual difference between a civil service job and law enforcement leadership, which are two different scopes of responsibility. The Maui rule requires the residency for 1 year immediately preceding appointment, which is a durational application status. This may or may not have been directly addressed in Walsh. So essentially what she did is she took this one case that applied to this one thing, and she was able to say, well, hey, it applies to here. But it doesn't apply to here, because the Walsh case was a civil rights employment case. It wasn't a county level appointment requirement. Now, this is the difference between that. He was appointed into that position as a police chief. The case that she cited was for people who, generally speaking, want to come to Hawaii and attain a job. The Walsh case sided with people. It was constitutional that, yes, we can't have that preventing people who have migrated here from getting jobs. That is not the same from being an appointed official. Two completely different things, but yet she uses it, and yet the Maui Police Commission was all about it. They couldn't wait to use that as her scapegoat. So we have Kisa Liu. She's one of his little guard dogs that likes to show up to every meeting to support him. We'll talk lots more about her because we have a lot of minutes for all the time she shows up to these things. So we have proof. We have receipts. Everything I'm speaking to you, there's receipts for. I'm not making any of this up. Sadly, I'm not making any of this up. Next, in order to become a police chief, these officers need to take a polygraph test. Everett Ferreira, Jacobzak, sorry if I'm messing up your name, and Ramos, right? There was Ramos, yeah. Jacobzak. I'm just going to say Jacobzak. Anyways, they had to take a polygraph test. Guess who didn't have to take a polygraph test? That's right, John Pelletier. Why? Guess what? It was waived by the Maui Police Commission. Why was it waived? It was waived because they claimed he had the credentials. He had gone to the FBI Academy. So he didn't require a polygraph test because he had already been verified by the FBI. The only thing wrong with that is that the other three officers also had the same credentials. So do you see here where we have lying, complicity? We have, I would call it corruption, straight up. We have these instances where the Maui Police Commission, as their job, they need to hold the police chief accountable. The same level of standards you have for everyone else needs to be applied to him as well. But it's been shown that it's not. They constantly pad him. So, as you might guess, he was hired, and he is now the Maui Police Chief since it's December 15, 2021, when he was sworn in. Sadly. What I'd like to get into is what he did. So he also had the interview. All of them had an interview. Okay, they all had to go and interview in front of the police commission, and it was unfairly biased. As you can see, Frank DeRago Jr., when he interviews him, he's so excited. He says, Pelletier? Oh, Pelletier is it? Oh, well, can you tell me why? Like a little schoolgirl. Like he's so in love with John Pelletier. Why? Why is that acceptable? Your job, you are on a board. You're on a committee, a council, to hire, fire, and evaluate someone. Your job is to find the best candidate for Maui, to protect Maui, the community of Maui. And your guys' whole thing in Kisa Liu was, oh, it's because we had corrupt people, so they want to end corruption by getting somebody from outside of Maui. As I will lay out, as we do more of these podcasts, these little, FaceTimes we got over here right now between me and you, we're going to see how he has actually gone from where Maui used to have just a few bad apples who were corrupt. Now we're having an institution of corruption. I have all the information to back it up. Anyways, we're going to cut that short for today. Thank you so much for joining Connect the Dots with Jeni. Next time, we're going to cover the policies that Pelletier was pushing, as to why he needed to be selected and what he was going to do to change it. And we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to talk about the exodus of officers who ended up retiring shortly after he took office, because he threatened everyone that he was going to make an example out of them and fillet them if they went against him. Make sure you check in next time. Thanks so much for joining me. Aloha. Have a wonderful day.